What medieval devil is living in your astral body? Sounds wild, right? But stay with me because those medieval paintings of Michael overcoming the dragon, i.e., the devil, have a lot more to say about our contemporary modern life than you might think. It's Michaelmas time, the time of Michael overcoming the dragon. Welcome to a Michaelmas exploration like no other. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain, the esoteric curtain of Michaelmas. The festival of Michaelmas happens at the end of September. I'm pulling back the curtain on esoteric mysteries that the world never sees. These paintings of Michael overcoming the dragon or the devil have a lot more to than pop psychology or ho hum, that's old news. These are mysteries for our modern age. There are countless paintings of Michael overcoming the dragon, and we find them cross-culturally all over the world. And some of the most beautiful are the lovely folk art, the outsider art of the from the hearts of the folk, from the hearts of the people, from the hearts of the culture. The paintings we're going to look at today are medieval masterpieces. Today, I'm looking beyond the surface of the art and unveiling mysteries that most people don't see. And some of the questions we're going to ask: what is Michaelmas at the end of September? Is it a contemporary festival that's outworn its vitality? Or is there something hidden in it that takes a little penetration to reveal the secret? And what is it that countless millions of devotional souls for hundreds and hundreds of years have been so gripped by this icon? Could it be that this was a spiritual picture, a living reality, that the folks in olden times, we say, were more clairvoyant than we are now? Because many people actually point to that. We had higher faculties, and we're in a process of evolution, developing other faculties, and we're coming back to a natural clairvoyance. And this is what the Western mystery traditions point to, that these were actual images in the spiritual world that many people could see at night when they went to sleep. And so this image of Michael overcoming the dragon was something that penetrated the human being, and they longed for a connection with Michael. So who is Michael really? Who is the dragon? And so many times we see the dragon as a devil. And who is the devil really? And these are some of the secrets in these iconographies that we're going to be discussing this week. Now, for me, I've been doing a Michael painting every year. Gosh, I don't know how long it's been. I just do an annual painting, and we'll be talking about my painting as well. But I thought I'd just do an introduction on just looking at some of the symbols. And also to let you know that my class is open. I do a class every year, and registration is open at KristinaWestArt.com. And it'll take you right to the class, and registration is open. And it's got a sliding scale. So hopefully you'll join me and start a dialogue with Michael on your own. That's the whole point of this. Now, Michaelmas is a time. It's usually September 28th, 29th, but Michaelmas Tide is actually the time at the end of September through Christmas. So it's called Michaelmas Tide. It is a period of time that Michael is very close to the human soul. And Michael in the esoteric traditions is called the countenance of Christ, or a sun being, an ancient sun being. And so many times, Michael, his armor is gold, or his sword is gold, or he is gold. Gold is usually always found in a Michael painting. So here we have an absolutely exquisite painting of Michael. Let's see if I can get out of the way for you. So this is Michael. This is a close-up, a detail, and I'll show you the entire painting. And here's a lovely sculpture of pure gold of Michael. And again, we could see this is the countenance of the sun being. And they say that Michael is associated with Jehovah. It goes way back and had other names in different cultures in Babylon and Zoroaster, who saw this sun being was going to descend to the earth. And they say that Michael precedes the Christ as the sun being comes to the earth. Isn't that beautiful? So this is a wonderful image to meditate on, to think that this being could dwell in our hearts. In the Tibetan tradition and Buddhist tradition, they say a God dwells in our heart. If we could really perceive a God dwells in our hearts. Isn't that beautiful? So here's a divine being for us. Now, here is a close-up of a detail. And here we have a detail of a close-up of one of my favorite paintings. And you see, everything is burnished gold. It's almost it's so saturated with saffron and gold that it's really drenched in this warmth of courage, because it takes an act of courage to overcome a dragon. With its open mouth, and his tail is here behind my shoulder. The dragon has bat wings. And so we have this reference to a lower animal, a snake-like dragon being with bat wings, with pointy, ratty teeth. But up here, we have Michael, who has angel's wings. That's pointing to Michael is a higher being. Angels are a step above humans, and then we have angels, archangels, and archai, and these are the beings in time spirits. So Michael is this magnificent figure overcoming the dragon. And in the deep esoteric wisdom, this is actually considered a true deed that happened at the end of the 18th century, about 1879. There was a massive battle in the spiritual world with Michael and the dragon, and he throws down the fallen angels. But this battle, as this is thrown down to the earth, the dragon nature has been thrown to the earth, is that every human being has to overcome this dragon personally. And this is a real deed, and this is a real opposition. And if we study psychology, depth psychology, and we study Jung and the shadow, and we have an understanding that our habitual behaviors, our character development or lack of character development is actually, well, our lack of character is actually is our lower nature. All the things that we lie to ourselves about, all the things that we want, all the things, nasty things we do to other people, but we pretend we really don't. And this is actually forming, if you remember my thought forms vlogs. I did a series of 7 on thought forms. What are you thinking? What do we create over our heads and our astral body every day? Our negative thoughts, our positive thoughts. We are creating little elemental beings over our heads. And these Michael images are actually pointing to what is the dragon really? And I would make a leap as an esoteric student that our dragon nature is a fully fledged egregore. And an egregore is the being that we build over our heads in our habitual thinking. And this is what New Physics says. Our habitual thoughts are like a groove in an album, and the egregore is a spiritual being. And when it wants to keep living, it discharges itself against our head, and bang, we're back into our negative thought or our habitual behavior, the unhealthy ones, because it's the unhealthy ones that create the dragon nature. We also have the opposite side, which is our good side creates perhaps images of loveliness within our astral body. But we're speaking about Michael and the dragon. So I'm going to show you another picture, one that I was actually stunned when I first saw it. These medieval paintings have a lot to say about our inner world. Remember that most of the people in olden times couldn't read. So pictures, paintings, images are a story to be read. They're telling a story to the people who, for the most part, were uneducated. That is actually one of the most important things to remember. You're talking about a time, and also there was no social media. There was no fast news. Life was slower. You knew your neighbors. Life was to be looked at and lived in. We didn't live on screens and pretend we were having relationships with screen people. We had real relationships with real people. Now to the image that arrests me. In medieval art, the dragon subdues the devil. And many medieval painters, artists, painted real devils. And this one is one of my favorites. And these devils can be very strange. You'll see devils that have faces in the belly, in the genitals, in the buttocks, even the knees. And the first time I saw this, other than Tibetan art, which also has it, or was this a spiritual reality that people could see in demons as they could actually see Michael and the dragon in the spiritual world when they went to sleep at night? Now, that consciousness has changed now, and we don't see those images. But that doesn't mean that this wasn't a capability that most people had. Why else would we have millions of these images? It wasn't just Christianity saying, hey, there's Michael, and you might want to paint him. This was a challenge, a living challenge for everybody. And they wanted to know, how do they cope with this dragon or demon nature that lives within each human being? And in depth psychology, James Hillman would point to the deep shadow. So would Carl Jung, Marie-Louise von Franz. So we could say that these are power centers, that these demons are showing us that where we have concentrated our energy, concentrated our power, concentrated our focus, becomes a being. So this is what I was trying to get to in my opening segue into thought forms that you can find on YouTube, and that's series 1 through 7. And that is a comprehensive esoteric deep dive in what are we thinking and what are we creating over our heads every day. So the title of this, Is There a Medieval Devil in Your Astral Body, is actually a serious question. And that's your dragon nature. That's my dragon nature. What is it? That is our dragon nature. And why I do a Michael painting every year is to have a rhythm that once a year I would drop into this imagination, this spiritual picture, to just have a dialogue, not only with Michael, like over the threshold in my meditation and my nightly dream time sleep, but also to check in with myself and just say, how are you doing, Kristena? Have you dropped? Is your dragon uglier this year? Is it a little sweeter, or is it about the same? So those are real valid questions for doing inner work, trying to transform our lower nature into a higher self, into a more benevolent, empathetic, generous, loving, kind human being. And I thought I'd give you a wonderful tapestry, or is this a mosaic image of the devil and what the devil does to human beings who have fallen in their nature. And this devil is eating human beings. Creepy, yeah. I think that most of us would be very disconcerted to know what our astral body looks like, which is called the double, and which in the Western mystery traditions, you actually meet your double. And your double, double, is a very frightening being. This is why the vlog I did on Dorian Gray, the picture of Dorian Gray, is a perfect example written by Oscar Wilde of who we really are and how many fibs and lies we tell ourselves about how wonderful we are. This is my Micha-el masterclass that is open now. And this, I did it very, very differently. This class is very different. Instead of showing you how to do a painting of Micha-el, I got so many questions over the years. And it's always the same question. Is Kristena, I want to paint intuitively. And how do I paint intuitively? If I'm working on something like Michael, that image that is so sort of ingrained in us that we've seen millions of images of, how would I actually do that as a spiritual journey, as a spiritual discovery, as a spiritual exploration? So what I did this time was this was before I learned about video, so I took pictures of the entire process. Then I loaded them into iMovie and I did a very deep narration for an hour. And you'll see the progress of how this painting got started from, oh, let me show you that. So this is in the class. This is this is I unwrapped the canvas and I used the plastic wrap that was around the canvas and I did a very loose watery acrylic wash in red because I knew that my Michael was going to be a red, warm Michael. And then I just wanted a bottom, and that's how this develops. So this painting becomes this painting. And how does that happen intuitively? All right. So you have a series, it's an hour where you see the steps of the painting evolving, but not just that, it's where I hit major roadblocks. And I had to put the painting, I thought, oh, I'm just not going to be able to do it this year. And how I worked through it because this painting was a lot of different paintings before it reached the completion. And because of the just a little bit that I've shared already, you can see how I integrated the sun being of Michael or the sun energy of Michael into the heart space. And Rudolf Steiner says to us in this century that human beings, if they want a relationship with Michael, if they only will it, a sun will arise in human beings' hearts, the sun of Michael. And that's how I integrated that into the painting. But you can see this is just this is nothing, right? So how did it come about? And this is the bridge most artists can't do. They think that this painting was drawn and then painted into. That is not what this is. This is an intuitive art piece. And it goes from completely, plastic wrap and the process of staying in the not knowing. And the tip, of course, is so here's an esoteric tip. It's a shamanic tip, it's a depth psychological tip, it's a practical tip, but it's actually one of the spiritual practices that will unpack your art over time as you develop it because it's a skill, it's a deep skill set. And I could call it the most artists, when they're painting, they have in their whole system everything that they know about art, whether it's a lot or a little. This is this, and that is that. And I know that, and I'm secure in that. But this kind of art, which is intuitive art, is you forget everything you've learned and you start in the not knowing. And the first thing is you have to be comfortable with that not knowing and carry it as a thread, as the through line through your painting to this. Now, I'm a professional artist. I'm a life drawer, a lifelong life drawer. I love the human figure. I love abstract, but this one I decided I was going to do semi-abstract and semi-representational. I love the human figure. I think the human body is divine. So there's also secrets. There's also secrets in this painting, and nobody's actually guessed it, unless I give them a clue, which I'm not going to do. So you can lay secrets into your work that even if the viewer doesn't know it, it resonates in their heart and their soul. There's something in the aura of the viewer when they look at the painting, which I call and response, that from our eyes, we're sending out feelers into the Michael space, but we're also doing it from our heart up to Michael and back. And then when we go to sleep at night and we think about our painting and I didn't make it and I got a problem and how can I fix it? And I think I'm a failure. I must be an imposter, all that stuff. And the next day you wake up and when you move your limbs, which is activating your will, I got it, something, and I can move in the work, in the painting, in the creative act. So That's really a secret. And this is call and response is the listening will. We do our will, but we have no idea what's actually doing. We can do the science, but the will is the one of the most mysterious, esoteric mysteries of the human being. Because masters, spiritual teachers from gurus in India to Western mystery tradition masters say that the will is actually activated from the spiritual worlds. Now, think about that pill for a while. So, this technique or skill tool set about setting aside what I think I know about art and living in the not knowing, staying in the not knowing, as you go from this which most of us would say just a mess and doesn't mean anything. And what was the journey between these two paintings? What happened? Because I transformed. I had a spiritual experience. I had an overcoming experience of my own creative block that I got through. There was an opening. And these are the things that most artists never, never, never hear about unless they're couched in I'm an artist who's going to teach you techniques. But this isn't that. This is something else. This is beyond the ordinary. This is going into non-ordinary reality. This is where intuition lives in the psychic space. So, that's just the beginning. I'm going to give you another vlog tomorrow. We're going to keep this short and sweet. And I just want to introduce you to my Micha-el class and also these images of Micha-el. And let's end with another wonderful image. So here we have Here's a beautiful bejeweled, and again, this courageous yellow. And if you listen to my spiritual qualities of color, and that is still a free download because that's going to become a class shortly, which is the whole class with the thought forms is going to be about a $500 class. So if you're interested in the thought form series, I would watch them for free now. And this is the spiritual qualities of color. This is, again, this yellow gold, which is warming and it's edged with the courageous orange. And orange, we know, is the solar plexus color, the color of courage. And it's on a field of blue with little sigils. And the background is green, this verdant green. And the green is always associated with the earth, with physicality, with growing things, with things that blossom and bloom, and the trees going up into the sky, those beautiful puffy clouds. And here we have stars in the clouds, way, 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 way up. Look at the marvelous detail. And what's happening? He's throttling. He's throttling a devil. And look at the devil. He kind of looks like he's having a bit of a good time, like, I'm going to get you. You might not know it. I'm going to get you. But Michael is determined and he is strong and fearless. And he has a ruby on his chest, on his heart chakra, shows this shining, shining ruby love. The red can be passion and in pride in its arrogance, but also it is the penetration of the human heart into its highest function, which is love. So Michael is, through this act, he's still in a devotional aspect because he's doing this for humanity. If Michael can overcome the dragon or the devil, then every human being can overcome their lower nature and become an angel. That's actually our evolutionary goal, is to become the next step in the hierarchy, to become angels. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a few days, or maybe tomorrow if I can get it together, for the next episode of Michael and Michaelmas. We're heading into it. It's the 28th and 29th, the end of September. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this ride with me, please subscribe and leave some comments. What do you think? Have you done a Michael painting? Let me know. Bye for now. It's Kristena West. Let's get creative. Oh, I forgot. Michael asks at this time of year, in the very depths of the human being, every year at this time, what courageous deed are you doing now? What courageous deeds, deed or deeds, are you doing now? What are you standing up for? What are you aiming for? What is your intent? Keep going. We've made it through another week. Bye for now. Kristena West, Art and Healing.